Hey guys, it's Mana from Mana Goddess, and, well, it's been a while. So, college kind of, took over and, semester started. I also had an internship throughout the whole of March that, took up a lot of time. This semester is just hell. So, sorry, there haven't been any videos for like 3 months, or 4 if you don't count the sketchbook tours. But anyway, it's nice to be back. Um, so this is a speed paint of a secret exchange picture for a secret summer exchange. And I'm just going to talk like real short about the art, and then I'm going to talk about art block because that's something I've been dealing with a lot, especially due to having so little time. Um, so at the start you could see a little, the character I was drawing versus my sketch. The speed paint starts with the sketch already done because I sketched it yesterday at like 1 a.m. because I got super inspired and I was like, oh, I gotta use this. But I decided, since it's been a while since I made a video, that I would try to record at least line art in the coloring phase. Tried a lot of new things this picture, like the angle with her looking up and the hands and everything, and I'm super happy with the picture. It was lots of fun. I tried some new stuff coloring that you're gonna see, like overlay layers, a little bit of changes in shading, just some general stuff. Um, well, yeah. Anyway, so I thought, since just listening to people ramble on about the art they're drawing can get a little boring at times, I thought I'd talk about art block, how I deal with it, or how sometimes I just don't deal with it, and yeah. So I find that, especially when I'm stressed, like when I have a lot going on, when I have to think about exams or seminars, group projects, presentations, and also, when I'm not getting a lot of sleep, which this semester is notorious for me not getting a lot of sleep. I just had this week off, so I've been catching up with a lot of things. But I find it really hard to find the time to do art because it tends to be that the time that I'm not traveling or in class, or sleeping, eating, that kind of stuff, I'll usually just be so exhausted that I'd rather spend my time doing something that doesn't require a lot of brain power, I guess, like gaming or just watching YouTube videos, listening to music, my god, reading, something like that. I find that that's something my body's in need of at the time, and that's very hard to focus on art. That's not to say that I don't draw at all, because especially when I have like free periods on my longer days, so Tuesdays and some Wednesdays, I'll take my sketchbook with me and some art supplies like colored pencils, my lining tools and such, and I will sketch stuff and I will doodle stuff and yeah, stuff like that. But most of the stuff I do in my sketchbook, like I do post it, but I don't post it on DeviantArt because I keep DeviantArt for like big finished pieces. Most of the stuff I do in my sketchbook is more like, well, doodles, or it's me experimenting with stuff and not caring how the finished result looks, and I'll post it even if it looks like shit. But just because I'm like working my sketchbook doesn't mean I'm not art blocked. And I've found recently it's been hard for me to do like personal art or artwork that I owe people, although at the moment, with this done, there's only one art trade that I took on a few days ago, so relatively okay right now. But in general, sometimes I find it really hard to find the mental capacity and the focus to do art. So what do? Like I said, I do try to somewhat regularly do stuff in my sketchbook. For example, I've had a time where I had just really hard time finding inspiration, motivation, so I thought, well, I like Pokemon. I'm just gonna Google some Pokemon and try and draw them. And it was surprisingly fun because it was something I've never drawn before. So, whatever I drew would be the best version of that thing I've ever drawn. See, positive outlook's very great. But also, because I put no pressure on myself, because I could tell myself, you're just trying to pass the time, you're just trying to keep up the muscle memory and stuff. Fine. But oftentimes when I want to do like digital art, it's really hard for me when I'm art blocked. Like, I can do sketchbook doodles and stuff, that's fine. I might not be super happy with them, but that's fine. But doing like fully fledged pictures is like hard sometimes. So some of the things I'll do, like I said, I mentioned doing sketchbook doodles anyway, because sometimes you'll end up with something where you think, wow, this is actually really good, or, oh, I learned something really new that I can apply to my art in general, or I've learned something new with a new medium, or improved on something you haven't done in a while. But aside from that, a lot of times sometimes I'll just avoid art. And I'm not saying that's the healthy way to do it, and I'm not saying it's the best way to do it. But for me, just sort of taking the pressure off myself and being like, okay, I'm not gonna draw today, I'm just gonna, I don't know, play League of Legends or whatever, I'm just gonna catch up on YouTube. That can help, because when you take the pressure off of yourself, like the pressure of, oh my god, I have to draw today, or oh my god, I told myself I'm gonna draw tomorrow, but then I didn't draw after all, oh no. But if you take that pressure off, you're more likely to get like bursts where you think, you know what, now I feel like drawing. I don't have any pressure from myself or from outside, so now I'm gonna draw. And while, especially if you have like commissions, or you have art trades, or you have art due dates for like actual important art where people paid you for something, etc., generally there's no pressure to create. Nobody from, like outside, nobody except yourself can set pressure on you to create art. Like, I'm not considering commissions in this, I'm considering personal art, fan art, whatever. Any art you make for yourself, or you make because you want to make it. Nobody can pressure you to draw if you don't want to draw. So if you don't feel like drawing, you don't have to draw. And I know that there's quite a few people and artists out there who will insist that you have to draw every day to improve. You have to do one sketch a day, or you have to, I don't know. Personally, I don't believe that. I mean, I'm not gonna say that you're not gonna notice faster improvement if you, sketch every day, or fill a page in your sketchbook every day. I'm sure that will help you improve really quickly. But if you're someone who feels such an immense pressure by that you're more likely to stop or lose motivation, then don't do that. If you notice that something is absolutely sucking the life out of you for something you're doing for fun, don't do it. It's that easy. Don't, if you want to try the challenge where you do one sketch a day for a whole year, go for it. But if you notice at some point that it's doing more harm than good, there's nothing wrong with stopping the challenge and deciding that's not for you. Especially if you're doing, I mean, I'm talking about art as a hobby, because I'm a hobbyist. I'm not a freelance artist. I cannot live off commissions or anything like that. If you do art as a hobby, purely as a hobby, and something you're doing is upsetting you, then stop it. So, that's one thing. Take off the pressure. Don't pressure yourself, and don't let people from the outside pressure you. Again, different story if we're talking about freelance art, commissions, etc. Next thing, what helps is, or something I saw once said that if you have phases where you feel like everything you create is terrible, you can't get anything right, everything you draw just looks so off, then you're at a stage where you're currently on a learning level, on a visual level. You're learning more about art, like noticing more about how anatomy works maybe, but you haven't been able to bring your knowledge into your practical work yet. So that means for you, the difference between what's in your mind and what you get on canvas is so great that it frustrates you. And of course, you know, practice makes perfect, but at the same time, just like, you gotta think of it like a graph, you know. There's ups and downs, like a roller coaster ride. You got the ups where everything's great, you got the downs where nothing's great. You can even think of it as like two lines. Sometimes the two graphs will align because your perception of art is on the same level as your creation of art, and sometimes maybe your perception might not be on the same level as what you're making, or what you're making might not be on the same level as your perception. There's nothing wrong. It doesn't mean you're not improving on art if you're looking at other art, because even just like, you know, looking at what other people create, looking at art studies, watching other people on YouTube make their art, stuff like that. It's still helping you learn. I found that since I've started following a lot of artists on YouTube, that sometimes in really subtle ways, I've been improving, or they've inspired me. Like, I've found myself thinking, because I follow someone called Doodle Day on YouTube, who, they're amazing, by the way, they're lovely. I thought to myself, oh, they're drawing all these things in their sketchbook, and it seems like they're not even thinking much about it. I should just draw stuff, even if I've never drawn it before, because what can go wrong? And yeah, I mean, proved to be, nothing can go wrong, and it's really fun to try new stuff. But yeah, so let's say you're still art blocked, nothing you're creating is coming out the way you want to, you're still looking at art, you're still consuming art, there's no pressure at the moment, you know, you're taking your time, but you do kind of want to draw, even if nothing's coming out. So what can you do? Well, you could try and find inspiration, you know, listen to music. I know I have a playlist for my OCTP for Felix and Maya. It's songs that make me think of them and songs that I relate to them. So if I ever want to draw something with them, I can listen to that playlist and I'll be inspired and also crying. Or you could, for example, you could go outside for a walk, take your sketchbook with you, draw impressions, or stuff like, you know, something like that. Just draw what you see without thinking much about it, just something like that. You could also, say, grab a page that generates a random Pokemon for you, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna hit this, let it generate, I don't know, 3 Pokemon for me, and I'll draw one of them. Sort of, you take away the need to choose something yourself, or to think of something yourself, and instead you just draw something based on what the world throws at you, let's put it that way. So, a random prompt generator, or a random whatever generator, or going outside and drawing what you see, or you could even take a photo of something and trace over that just to occupy your hands, train that muscle memory, which, mind you, tracing is great for practice, but if you trace something, especially something that is not your own, for example, if I trace a photo I took, something different than if I trace a photo I found on Google. But if you trace something, preferably don't upload it, and if you do, absolutely mention you traced, give the proper credit, you know, link back to the original picture, etc., etc. I personally would not recommend posting anything that you traced, though. It's a huge difference from referencing. Anyway, so you got those options, because again, just tracing over photographs of people, for example, can help you just get a general grasp on anatomy, or, you know, just give you like a warm-up, like, ah, yeah, that's how you draw a human. Okay, that's gonna work. What else can you do? You could, there's like, you know, those quote-unquote memes on DeviantArt, where it's like drawing memes. Oh, I don't know, you got like 5 questions, you're supposed to draw something for all of them. I have loads of them saved and I never get to them, but technically you could use those as a source of inspiration when you can't find any yourself. What I've done before is I've visited the projects forum on DeviantArt or the art request forum on, the art freebie forum on Guy Online, and sometimes you might find someone requesting art of a character that really inspires you, or where you think, I can try this, and there's no pressure on it, because it's not like you have to announce you're gonna draw someone. You can be like, you know what, I'm gonna try this, and if it turns out like shit, you can be like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna scrap this, because there's no pressure. Again, yeah. So, you have those options. You could also have someone throw something random at your head. I've told my friends to, just give me random ideas, and gotten stuff like, I don't know, ghost with a top hat, or a fat bumblebee. There's stuff like that. And that does help a lot. And in general, I think I've heard artists say before that art block is nothing more than laziness. That was something that I personally cannot and will never agree with. I'm no longer following that artist either, because it was, the way they voiced their thoughts on the matter was really, really rude in my opinion. But anyway, there might be people who say things like, art block is nothing more than laziness. I disagree. There's everything, let me rephrase that, sorry. It's natural to, at some point, not have the energy to do something that you're regularly doing. Sometimes, especially something like art or writing, a creative process that requires a lot of brain power, sometimes, if you do it regularly, there might be a time where it might be hard for you. And that's okay. It's okay to take a break from that. It's not laziness if you if you if you can't do art at the moment, or can't write at the moment. It's purely natural. Think of it as a cycle. You can't always be in bloom. Flowers aren't always in bloom. Sometimes they rest, sometimes they're growing. It's like that. Creativity is like a flower. Sometimes it's in bloom, and sometimes it's not. That sounds so poetic and so cheesy. I'm sorry. But, in general, I just think it's important, again, take the pressure off yourself. Remember, it's a hobby. Remember, you do not owe anyone creating art. You do not owe it to anyone to create art if you're doing it as a hobby and you're not being paid to draw something by someone. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to draw something absolutely different from what, say, your watchers on DeviantArt expect from you. You do art primarily for yourself. Don't let anyone dictate what you draw. Don't let anyone put pressure on you. Take it at your own pace. Take a break if you need to. There's nothing wrong with saying, I cannot draw at the moment. I'm going to take a break for a month. I'm going on hiatus. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to do other stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. And especially if you have like school or college, if you have exam season, if you have family issues, if something, in quote-unquote real life is going on, then there's nothing wrong with saying your priorities to deal with what's important right now, to make sure you're healthy, to make sure you're not overexerting yourself, and, making sure that you're mentally healthy is still taking care of yourself. Mental health is health as well. And yeah, so I'm just gonna let the rest of this video run in peace. Thank you guys for listening Thank you guys for listening to me. I'll get better at this without stammering and stuttering as much. And I hope you have a wonderful day, or evening, or night. And I will hopefully see you soon with another video. Bye!